Hey, good evening, everybody. We will get started in a couple of minutes. 2 to 3 minutes, we'll get started with tonight's program. And just so everybody here and at all the other sites knows, we are recording this for future playback. We'll make that available later this week as well. So we will get tonight's Parent Academy going in a couple minutes.
Good evening. Welcome to our first Parent Academy. We're very excited about our Parent Academy tonight, but mostly we're really excited about the fact that we are simulcasting out to 4 other sites. So we have a great option to reach out to some other school families, but we also are going to be recording this. So if you weren't here tonight live and if you weren't at one of our satellite sites, you do have the option to watch this recorded. So we are going to start with a Brain Start Smart. Brain Smart Start. Saying that quickly is difficult. I have some friends from Endeavor that are going to come up, and I have some friends in the boardroom who are going to stand up and partner with one another. And we're going to do a really quick activity. Oh, you've got to stand up and partner with one another. In fact, Beth Betty and Dr. Mullins are going to do the Brain Smart Start with us. There you go. So the way it starts is Miss Erdman and I are going to partner, and we're going to just do a count off 1, 2, 3. And it looks like this: 1, 2, 3.
1,
2,
3.
Simple. Go ahead. Oh, look at the Endeavor people are like on speed dial. All right, stop. Stop. And now we're going to add a clap. When the person says 1, they clap. So Kathleen's going to be 1,
1,
2,
3.
1,
2.
3. Got it? So 1's clap. Go ahead. All right, go ahead and stop. We're going to make this just a little bit more challenging. 1s are going to clap, and on 2, you're going to pat your thighs. So 1, 3.
1,
2.
3.
All right, so 1's clap, 2's pat. Go ahead. All right, let's just take it up one more notch. One more notch. And what you guys don't know is we have some people in here that are kind of pairing off on what they're going to do. So you've got the hardest pairing right now. So on 1s, you're going to clap. On 2s, you're going to pat. And on 3s, you're going to high five 1 hand or 2. I find it's easier to do 2. All right. 1's clap, 2's pat, 3's high five. Go ahead. Okay. All right. Go ahead and take a seat. Go ahead and take a seat. Thank you. So make sure that whoever you were partnering with it, whether it was in here or at a satellite, you guys have taken a minute to introduce yourselves to one another. I know that we're going to go over what a Brain Start Smart is and why it's important for kids, important for us as adults. But before we move on, we're going to do one more thing, and it's called star breathing. And the importance of taking a breath for kids is the difference between engaging in a behavior that can hurt somebody or hurt themselves, engaging in a behavior that could get them in trouble or break a relationship or build a relationship. So we're going to teach you several different ways to teach breathing to little kids today, or older kids, because I have used it as an adult. And star breathing is this. It is stop what you're doing, take a breath, and relax. And the way we're going to do it is breathe in through our nose, out through our mouth. We want to make sure we're taking that breath from the belly, so your belly should rise out instead of your chest. It should be a belly breath. So stop, take a breath in through your nose. We're going to do 3 of those. and relax, relax. So star breathing is just one way we teach our kids in schools to get back to center, and it works when we work it, and it works when our kids know it. So the last part of a Brain Start Smart is committing to something. One of the things that our kids in our schools do is our teachers will say, I am here to keep you safe, and the kids say back, we are here to help you. So the commitment to one another is about safety and keeping one another safe. Our commitment tonight, if you guys want to join in with this, is that you're going to commit to meeting 2 parents, meeting 2 new people, 2 caregivers, 2 community members that are with you this evening so that you have that connection. So we have some people around the room. We want to make sure that you guys are committed to meeting with one another this evening. So before we get into the main content of the evening, is Dr. Mullins in here? Oh, he's on a Zoom? Okay, we're going to skip the welcome to Dr. Mullins. When he comes in, we'll stop and we'll go back. So I do want to say thank you to our satellite sites. We have Creel Elementary, we have Mims Elementary, Lewis Carroll, and Discovery. So teams from those 4 schools are all actively engaged, and the way it's going to work is that we're going to give some content, and then we do an activity. And while we do an activity here, they're doing an activity at their site, and we're kind of going to go through this together as a team. Also want to say a big thank you to Endeavor Elementary. We wanted a team that's actively practicing, actively knows the content that we're covering, come up here and help us teach and help everybody in here learn. And we're very excited that this team is here with us this evening. What? Oh, I almost forgot. Thank goodness I have Miss Erdman with me. So as we go through the evening, if you guys, anybody, satellite sites, people in the boardroom, have any questions, please go ahead and write them down and pass them off to one of your moderators or facilitators, and then moderator or facilitator at any of the schools that we mentioned, email them to Russ Brune. You guys have Russ Brune's email address, and he will kind of collect those up, and we'll answer any FAQs at the end of the session. Did I leave anything else off? All right. Well, I am super proud. My role, by the way, I didn't even introduce myself. My name is Chris Moore. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services. And my role tonight is really to kind of handle the transitions and the welcome. They gave me the easy part, which I am very grateful for. So I want to introduce the person who's going to do the really hard part, the content, Miss Erdman. So welcome, Miss Erdman.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I get into the good part of this, I do want to introduce myself. I'm Kathleen Erdman. I'm a content specialist here at BPS. This is my 7th or 8th year, I believe, in Brevard County. And before that, I was in Volusia County, just up the road, for about 20 years. I was a school counselor up there at high school and a middle school. So I've got lots of fun experience. But my joke is that I upgraded my marriage software to Husband 2.0, which brought me to Brevard. And if you want to ask, I am married to Mike Erdman, but it's not that. So I can't help you with a car, but I am married to Mike Erdman, just so you know. Okay. So what Mrs. Moore did was called a Brain Smart Start. And if you've got kiddos in any of our BPS schools, they probably do this at least once, twice, 3 times a day. A lot of our schools are doing this in the morning, kind of get everybody on the same page. We are all coming from different things: traffic, another meeting, running late to a meeting, coming from cooking dinner or something like that. Those 4 things, and there were actually 4 pieces to that, gets everyone in the room on the same, especially with kiddos, when we're talking about transitioning to something really fun, maybe not so fun. This is a really good way to get all of the energy in their bodies ready to learn. So what Ms. Moore did was we did an activity to unite and connect with our game that we played. That brings us all together doing the same activity, but it also helps us engage with another person especially nowadays when we're looking at screens a lot, engaging with somebody else and making eye contact in a playful present situation that involves touch and games, that's a really good way to model and connect with other people. And then we also want to have some type of commitment to the goal of the evening. We wanted you to commit to meeting somebody that maybe you hadn't met. I've already met 2 people I haven't met before, so I've checked that box. I've lived up to my commitment. Okay. So there are 2 really important goals that we want to accomplish tonight. What we want everyone watching this at the satellite sites and everyone in this room to walk out of here with is an understanding of brain states. And what do I mean by brain states? Our internal state manifests itself in our external behavior. How I'm feeling inside probably has an effect on how I'm acting on the outside. Would we all agree with that? So knowing what brain states we as the big people are in, and knowing what brain states our little people are in, help us make better decisions on how we can best respond to any behaviors that we're seeing at home or in the classroom. Okay? The other thing that we want everyone to walk out with is a different perspective on how we see behavior in children. Not all behavior is bad. Not all behavior is good. But all behavior is a form of communication, and all behavior is an opportunity to teach a missing skill. What do I mean by that? Okay, so little babies, little teeny tiny babies. Most of us are parents in the room. So when a baby is very, very small and the baby is crying, what's typically the first thing we do? Check the diaper. Pick it up. Pick it up. Sometimes we do the sniff. Sometimes we do the peek test, right? But if a baby is crying, there's something wrong. There's something happening. There's some kind of distress. There's some type of unmet need happening with that baby. So we as the parent or the caregiver pick the child up and we go through a series of checks, almost like a checks and balances. We're checking the diaper. We're checking when was the last time this baby ate a meal. Do they need a bottle? Are they in pain? Are they tired? Are they cranky? We go through this checklist in our brain, and as parents, we go through that checklist and we try to fit that need. We change their diaper. We give them a bottle. We do the mommy bounce, right? Little mommy bounce. Sometimes we hum, we might sing, we might do a lullaby, we might burp them, whatever the case is. We do a head-to-toe check so that unmet need can be met for that baby. Now, what happens when kiddos get older? They still cry sometimes. Sometimes they might be mean. Sometimes they might say hurtful things. Sometimes they might be very defiant or say no or do one of those. It's still a behavior. There's still an unmet need. But when they're older, we tend to expect them to know how to tell us what that need is. What's wrong? Why are you crying? What's going on? Can you tell me what's wrong? What's going on? Are you hurt? We pepper them with questions because that as they get older, we, as the adults, assume and you should be able to tell me what's wrong. When they're babies, we don't do that. When they get older, we expect that from them. And sometimes they can tell us what's wrong. Sometimes they can't. Sometimes they don't have the words, or sometimes they don't know what it is. They just know something isn't right now. So seeing behavior as a missing skill, an opportunity to teach that skill, seeing all behavior as some type of communication helps us as the adult choose a response that is most appropriate to that need. And so understanding the brain states, hopefully, is going to help us all in the room and at the satellite sites do that. You are not going to walk out of here being a neurologist. You're not going to walk out of here being a child therapist or a behavior technician or technologist or anything like that. This is Brain States 101, Behavior 101. Hopefully you leave here with those 2 goals being met. Understanding our internal states dictate our external behavior, and understanding that behavior is a form of communication and an opportunity to teach a missing skill. Okay, so the brain state model that we are going to use to kind of educate everyone is called the Conscious Discipline Brain State Model. And this is a merging of Dr. Bruce Perry and a lot of neuroscientists and biologists simplified into this model. And it really makes a lot of sense. And that's why we really like it. According to this model, there are 3 main brain states. And I'm going to use my hand as a model, and I would like everyone in the audience to do the same. So this is our spine, base of the skull. This is our brainstem. It's our survival state. I call it the red brain. Okay? Fold your thumb in like this. Your limbic system. This is where our emotions live. Okay? And if we fold our fingers over, ooh, my knuckle just cracked. This is our green brain. This is our executive state. This is our frontal lobe. This is where all of our executive skills, our thinking brain, our thinking cap, that is here. We've got brainstem, limbic system, red brain, green brain. You're an excellent hand model. I might need you later. Okay? So now I'm going to go into each of the brain states in a little bit more detail. If you got one of the handouts and you have a pen, you can take notes on these, just so you can kind of, or you can take a picture of the slide. This is recorded so you can look at it a little bit later on. But I would love for my red brain helper, Assistant Principal Alicia Linderman from Endeavor Elementary. Thank you very much. And she's going to stand in front of my red poster here and put them on the red apron, please, ma'am. Okay, so our red brain, our survival state, we are born with this. That brain stem, this part here of our brain, we are born with our heart beating, we're born with digestion, we're born with blood pressure. This is all stuff that is automatic, and it is not really controlled by anything. Our bodies do this for us normally. When we are in this state, it is, again, unconscious, it's automatic. This is our alarm and arousal system, this red brain down here. This is activated when we are triggered by a threat. And that threat, if you pull out the first card there, can be a real threat, like that wolf there that Mrs. Linderman is holding, or it can be a perceived threat. So what do I mean by that? Have you ever almost been driven off the road by a car? Because of distracted driving, in my opinion. So if you are just about to drive off the road, or this big 18-wheeler's coming by you, your body is going to react to that to avoid that accident, correct? Is that super conscious or is that automatic? Sometimes you just have to work. Sometimes you slam on your brakes. So your body takes over, and your autonomic nervous system clicks in and takes over and says, we have got to defend ourselves against this threat. If I were to have a rock and throw it at Mrs. Linderman's head, she might do that. And what's that? She's defending herself. Okay? If I threw a rock at her head and she caught it and threw it back to me, what's that? She's kind of fighting back, like, you're not going to throw that rock at my head. Stop. Or if I threw a rock at her head and get ready for it. So that is fight, flight, or freeze, submit. Those are the only skills that we have as humans, as little humans and as big humans. Those are the only accessible skills we have when we are in this brain state. So if I am under physical threat, my body is going to do one of those things to defend myself, possibly attack the other person, or to submit. Where this gets tricky is we can be thrown into this state when we perceive a threat. And the perceived threats are harder to identify from the outside than the physical ones. If I throw a rock at her head and Mrs. Linderman defends herself or fights back or runs away, everyone is going to say, well, that rock was coming at her. Of course that's why she did that. But if I were standing here calling her names and she did the same thing. So that's harder to see. Would we agree? So the perceived threat is that I'm attacking her, but that time it was with words instead of with a rock. But her body might still be thrown into the state. Does that make sense to everybody? Can I get a thumbs up if that makes sense? Okay. So when we are in this state, fight, flight, freeze, or submit, sometimes the behaviors that we see in little ones and in big ones, I'm not going to lie, okay? We're going to see that physical aggression, that fighting. It might look like kicking. It might look like hitting, pushing, shoving, biting, any of those things. Tantrums, and when I say tantrums, and if you think about little kiddos, full-on tantrums where there are no words coming out of their mouths. Okay, we have no verbal ability in this state. We might also see the running away, hiding under the desk, or complete shutdown. And in older kiddos, they like the complete shutdown. They put the hood up over their head, and they literally don't speak to you one way or the other. Okay, so those are some of the behaviors that we might see in little kiddos and big kiddos if they are thrown into this state. The developmental question is about safety, because when our bodies are under physical threat or a perceived threat, we do not feel safe. Okay? So the question is, am I safe? And how do we answer that question is to guarantee and to reassure safety in whatever form that is. So survival state is about safety and not feeling safe, even if they should feel safe. And we're shoulding on kids sometimes. You should feel okay. You're okay now. And sometimes they don't feel like that, and we as the adults have to co-regulate. What do I mean by co-regulate? Remember I was talking about the babies? And we pick them up and we bounce them. That's co-regulating. We're controlling the movement. We're controlling the touch. We're controlling the vibrations and the feelings and the sound. So when our little kiddos are in this state, we have to make sure we're not here in order to co-regulate those kids and bring them up out of that survival state. Okay? So, okay. So the first thing that we do is, actually, Ms. Lindemer, I think you do have the front. There we go. So again, if the developmental question is, am I safe? The first thing we need to do is help the child understand that they are safe. You're safe. Breathe with me. You can handle this. The breathing part is what we practiced earlier. And Ms. Moore did a great job of describing the belly breath versus the chest breath. So when you belly breathe, it brings that blood pressure down. It calms you down. So what an adult is doing here is they're responding instead of reacting, and they're co-regulating their kiddos by saying, take a breath with me. Take a deep breath. If you've ever had a little kiddo in that hysterical, like, kind of crying, they're not taking deep breaths at all. And they're spinning in this state. So taking the opportunity while they're in this state to lecture them or teach them a skill or to model a new way of saying things or dealing with conflict, they are not ready to listen here yet because they're still in that panicked survival brain. So having them breathe with you is co-regulating that child. Now, one of the ways to get them to do this is to describe what they are doing without judgment. And how you might do that is you are helping them understand and be self-aware of what their body is doing while they're in this brain state. Your face is going like this, and your hands are going like this, and tears might be coming out of your eyes. Your whole body's going like this. And what that does is it makes them aware of what is going on in their body. They may not know that their body is going like that. If you've ever had a teenager and you talk about their tone, they don't have a tone. No, you do have a tone. Sometimes you have to describe it to them because it's coming out. I sit in meetings and people make comments on the faces that I make in meetings because I'm not aware that I'm making those faces in those meetings sometime. I'm trying to get better at it. So now I'm maybe not be in the survival state, but I'm certainly making faces in some of these meetings. And sometimes we're not aware. So by using this descriptive language, you are teaching the skill of self-awareness to that child. They might be angry and their body is going like this. And then you're making them aware that when their body goes like this, they may be experiencing anger. Okay? So what we want to do next is practice with your partners just the descriptive language. Okay? So you can make funny faces, okay? And see if your partner can describe the face. Like your face is going like this, your arms, hands are going like this, your body's going like this. Just yes, your face is going like this. That's good. No, absolutely. That's great modeling. So we're going to do that. I'm going to start a timer. So let's just practice this a couple times, and if our helpers here will kind of walk around and challenge some of our participants to use that descriptive language, and when the timer is done, we will come back and move on to the next thing.
All right, we're back. We hope the other satellite sites had an opportunity for learning and growth. I know that there was some great conversation here in the boardroom. As we move from our survival state into the next state, a great reminder is when we're in our survival state, it is the absolute wrong time to try to get a child out of their survival state. Part of this whole process is understanding us as adults, and us as adults have to be more aware of where we're at before we engage with a child that's having a little bit of an issue of their own. So I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Erdman to take us through to the next state.
Yeah, so, and I heard a great conversation, and it's an opportunity for me to tell a story because I'm a parent and I've got all kinds of ways I screwed this up. I've got hundreds of ways I screwed this up. My daughter's in her 20s now. So what Ms. Moore was saying and what the conversation in the boardroom was, when the adult is in our red brain, we can't teach or model for or co-regulate our kiddo because we're not ready either. And they're certainly not ready. Sometimes we, as the adults, inadvertently, not meaning to, sometimes we'll put our kids here on accident. And I will tell you how I did this, at least twice in my daughter's life. So I lived in New Smyrna Beach. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that up there, but part of the beach is a drive on the beach, part of the beach is not. Typically, because when she was younger, we went to the no-drive beach, but we were meeting some friends. It was a holiday weekend, which meant very busy, lots of cars. And I had done an amazing job as a parent teaching my child about watching for cars. Look both ways, look both ways. Look both ways when you cross the street, look both ways on the beach, hold hands, make sure there's an adult. I mean, the whole list of all that amazing rules, boom, boom, boom. She had them down. So she was playing with her friends, and one of the balls rolled out just as this giant truck with like wheels the size of me was driving down, and I saw her life flash before my eyes, and I went right there, and I snatched her up. And when I say snatch, I mean I snatched her up. She was wearing a little rash guard shirt. I snatched her back. She had no clue what was going on. She was playing with her ball. So she was in her green brain. And guess what? She felt this force of nature come and snatch her up off of the sand with a ball in her hand. She was immediately thrown here because of me. Now, did I save her life? Yes, absolutely. But she was then scared to death because I had just snatched her and she felt this falling backwards and dumped on the sand when I was done with it. I'm panicked because I thought she was about to die. She's panicked because she's seeing this crazy version of her mother she had never seen before. And immediately, I'm like, what did I tell you about walking? I'm like immediately like grilling her, like, how many times have I told you? She's not going to tell me how many times I told her. She's like, who is this crazy person that just like yanked me like that? We were both here. There was no learning happening. There was no teaching happening because I wasn't ready and she certainly was not ready. Much later in life, and I only know this because we just discussed it at dinner the other night. Again, my daughter's in her 20s. She's like, Mom, do you remember when I got in trouble in middle school and you lost your mind in the kitchen? And I'm like, yeah, of course I remember that. And so we're kind of laughing about it now. She's like, the veins were popping out of your head. She's like, you were yelling at me so loud, the veins were popping out of my head, out of your head. I was scared to death. And I said, well, do you remember why? She said, nope, I have no idea. I yelled at that child for at least 30 minutes, and she still does not know what it was for. Because I was here, and she was there because she probably thought I was going to hurt her, but I didn't. But all of that yelling and screaming and consequences, and how many times have I told you, and you know better, and blah, 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 all this stuff, she remembers none of it because I put her there, and I was there too. So all of that lecturing that I did, it's like it didn't even happen. It's like a magic eraser came and erased all of that. That was my clicky thing. Hang on. Oh, here it is. Okay. Hang on one second. Okay. So we have successfully brought ourselves and our little one out of our red brain. We are no longer in our survival state. Sorry. We are ready to start using other skills that may be accessible to us, even on our blue brain. We are still not our best person in our blue brain, and I'll tell you why. Our blue brain is our emotional state. Okay, this is where we go, not necessarily when we're threatened, but this is where we go when the world is not going our way. And that first card in your apron there is our trigger. The world is not going our way. This happens how many millions of times to us a day? Lots, lots and lots and lots. And as children, when we're little, we learn to go there probably the first time we hear somebody tell us no. No, you can't have that. No, you can't go here. No, you can't play with your friends. Whatever it is, no, we can't leave the store right now. That's about when the world stops going the way of the children. And then as adults, the world doesn't go our way quite frequently. When we are in our blue brain, we have buttons that have been installed by other people. And these buttons installed by other people are also pushed by the same people that put them there. My mother pushes my buttons, she sewed them on. That's like that is my thing. She knows where they are, she knows how big they are, she knows how to push them. She's a pro at it. But those buttons are pushed and our world is not going our way. So when we talked about survival state and we talked about what skills we had, the only skills we had were fight, flight, freeze, or submit. Here, we have some more skills, but the skills we have accessible here is what we were taught by our parents, by our schools, by our friends, and by the media. So what do I mean by that? So in my household, in my family, when my dad got mad, we head for the hills. Like if we could scatter and be out of the house, everybody was, because he had an explosive temper. When my mother was mad, she didn't talk to anybody, but she'd slam stuff around the kitchen, slamming cabinets and slamming pots and pans down. And like, Mom, what's wrong? Nothing. Well, we all knew something was wrong, but that's how it was modeled to me. And I'm a beautiful mix of both of those things, which is super healthy. But that's how anger was modeled in my house. So if I got angry, first of all, if I was a kid, I didn't get angry in the house, then I'd get in trouble. But as an adult, if the world wasn't going my way and I felt angry, I drew on that personal playlist from how I was raised. And so that has a lot to do, and it's not just anger, it's love, it's conflict, it's friendship, it's all of those things. And we draw from that personal playlist when the world isn't going our way. When the world is going our way, it's great. If the world's going my way and you need to merge in front of me, look, come on, no, come on, there you go, no, you go. You're doing that all day long, okay? The world's going my way, I'm not gonna give side eye to the lady that has 11 items and the 10 items thing. Fine. If the world is not going my way, it's a lot less likely that I'm going to let you merge in front of me. And it's a lot more likely that I'm going to give you side eye or 11 items. That's 11. So that's just a couple of examples. Tapping your foot, like our Vanna White model over there has done. Okay, so when the world is not going away, this is where we go. So some of the behaviors we see in little ones might be kind of clinginess, crying, saying no, In older kids, it might be some bullying, some social exclusion, name calling, that type of thing. Those are some of the behaviors that we see. Something is going on, the world is not going their way, whatever it may be, and they are reacting based on their own personal playlist for the short period of time that they've been with us. Okay? So the developmental question in this state is all about connection and feeling loved. Okay? Am I loved? Of course everybody's loved. Of course you are. I mean, that's a dumb question, right? But it's how they're feeling right there in that moment and not feeling connected with a friend, not feeling connected with someone that they work with, not feeling connected with their family. It's a lack of connection that helps us understand why we go here. My running joke in all of these trainings is that I have a timeshare here, and it's huge, and sometimes I bring 3 or 4 suitcases with me, and I swim here for days and days and days, and sometimes I visit for a day and I come out. But this is where I go. I'm in my blue brain. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better, and I'm trying to understand how I connect with people and how that connection helps pull me out of this and into the next state. Okay? So, I don't have pockets. I don't have pockets. Sorry about that. Ooh, I need an apron. Okay, so when we are in our emotional state, one more thing I want to say, a lot of times there's 2 options that we go to. We either go to, this is all your fault, or this is all my fault. So I'm angry because you're not letting me spend the night at my friend's house. And if you would just let me spend the night at my friend's house, then I wouldn't be angry anymore. And that's giving that power away to another person. Okay? The other thing that we do is we kind of blame ourselves when we turn that inward. I'm angry because my friends aren't talking to me right now, and it's because nobody likes me. Okay? I didn't get that promotion at work because I'm not worth it. So sometimes it goes in, sometimes it goes out. And that's how we see all that in those behaviors. Okay? So how do we help a kiddo in an emotional state? First of all, and it's not on this slide, but we've got to stop talking and keep it very minimal. Okay? Because when you engage in too much talking, when a kiddo or another adult is in this state, you're going to get all kinds of stories. All the stories that we're telling, all the false messages that we're sending ourselves, all the false messages that we're hearing from other people. If you keep asking why, then you're going to get well, you're not letting me spend the night at my friend's house, and if you're so mean and you don't like me, and if you did this, then I would, then you're engaging in all of that stuff. So here, the best thing to do is connect instead of trying to control the conversation. And at the bottom, you see, don't ask why. Especially our little ones don't always have the language to answer that question. And our older ones are going to go, and then you're stuck. Try not to ask why, because you can spin into blaming themselves or blaming other people. So what we want to do here is the next step in our process, and that's name the emotion. It's okay to be wrong. And this is how we want to do this. Miss Murphy, your face is going like this. You seem irritated. Okay, that's fine. Now, if I said, you seem elated to be here, she's probably going to correct me, and that's okay. Because in the process of correcting the adult, you're bringing them out of their blue brain into their green brain, because now they're looking for the right words, because you silly, you got it wrong. You said I seemed mad. I'm not mad. I'm furious. You seem sad. I'm not sad. I'm just bored. Okay, it's okay to be wrong here. And sometimes when you are wrong, it starts that conversation, and the kiddo is going to correct you. And as they correct you, we bring them back out of their blue brain into their green brain, which we're in a second. So if you could, with your partners or your tables, because that worked really well last time, what we want to do is practice the process so far. So first of all, we've got to get, can you stand up? We've got to get the kiddo out of the red brain, move up into the blue brain before we do anything else. Your face is going like, take a breath. Really angry. That's all I want you to do. Practice the star breathing, describe the face, the body, the hands, and then take your best guess, and it's okay to be wrong. Name the emotion that you are relating to what you're seeing on your partner's face. And I'll start the timer.
All right, we're going to come back. If you guys come on up here again, thank you so much. I heard Miss Erdman say a couple of times, the little kiddos, the little ones, the little ones. I have spent 20 plus years in secondary, in high schools. I worked at Cocoa High School. I worked at O'Galley High School. I worked at Bayside High School. And I will tell you, if you could stand up for a second, this right here, when you have a teenager that has gotten hurt, when you have a teenager that has almost gotten into a physical altercation. And when you've had a teenager that has just come out of a physical altercation and they are running on pure anger and adrenaline, this "you're okay" and the exaggerated breathing, take a breath. I will tell you, I'd never turned to a teenager and said, "Breathe with me," but I've said, "Come on, take a breath." And you model it, gets them right over to here. So this is not a 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old strategy. This is any person's strategy. And it works really well with teenagers as well. Thank you very much. And just so that you go from the red state to the blue state, I cannot tell you how many groups of girls that I've had in my office ready to throw down, and I would say, "Gosh, you're really angry." And they would respond with, "No, I'm just hurt." And now we can have a real conversation. So again, as we go through, Ms. Erdman's going to say the kiddos, because we're really pushing this thought and these trainings out to our elementary schools. But for the parents out there that have teenagers, these strategies are so important not to forget as well. So thank you very much. And we're going to go into the state where kids can actually learn and hear you after you yell at them for 30 minutes. Ms. Erdman, this state. Go ahead.
Something that I want to point out, and our experienced educators who have been trying this and practicing it for years can agree with this. This does not happen quickly. Here to here to here. It does not happen quickly all the time. In fact, a lot of times, you're here for a real long time. Or you might be here for a really long time because they've got a lot to tell you about everything that they've said. So my point is, when you leave here, this isn't going to be seamless. It'll just give you more tools in your toolbox. It will hopefully keep you out of the weeds, or if you get in the weeds, help you find your way out a little faster. That's all this is trying to do. Because sometimes I've had kids in my office who we were breathing hours, okay? And then other times I was in there all day trying to get somebody out of here before we could get to the actual learning and the teaching. Okay, so our executive state. Show me on your hand what the executive state was, the green brain. Excellent, very good. She's got it. Okay, this is the place to be. You pull out your front little card there. This is, we are relaxed. Not like I'm going to fall asleep relaxed, but if I just came out of almost being in some type of threat and I was all tense, and now I'm here, that kind of relaxed, not sleepy relaxed, just relaxed. And we are alert. We are conscious of our thoughts. We can problem solve. We can name our emotions. We can name our other emotions. We can come up with all kinds of solutions. This is where we want to be as the co-regulator. So as the adult, I need to be here before I can bring you here. And then we both need to be here for real teaching and modeling to occur. Okay? So this is where we problem solve. This is where we can have empathy and show empathy towards others and see perspectives. I might be in an argument with somebody else. If I'm here, I don't care what. You don't care? Right here? You made me mad. Forget it. If I'm here, I'm still trying to defend myself and hurt you. If I'm here, I'm probably blaming you. So I don't care how your day was and why you treated me that way. When I'm here, I have a little more perspective. When I'm here, I might see the world through your eyes as well as mine, and maybe understand why you said that hurtful thing, or why I'm not allowed to do that other thing. So this is where we want our children, our teenagers, our kiddos, this is where we want them to be in order to teach a lesson, give a consequence, give choices, or model and coach them through the next time this thing happens. Okay? So this is where they want to be, because the question that we're asking in this relaxed, alert state is, what can I learn from this situation I've just been in so I don't do it again? Or if I do it again, how can I do it better? If I do it again, how can I prevent it? If I do it again, how can I make things better quicker? Okay, so that's the developmental question in this state. Okay, so we are going to, I'll show you a little trick. It's DNA, but so we describe. Turn yours around. Okay. So we've described the body. Your face is going like this, your breathing's going like this, your eyes are going like this, your fists are going like this. We've taken a stab at the emotion. Hopefully we're right, but if we're wrong, it's okay. It engages the conversation. You seem angry, you seem upset, you seem mad, you seem sad, you seem lonely, whatever the case may be. Now we're going to go and we're going to try to figure out what the unmet need was. So at the beginning, when I talked about little babies and they're crying, we try to find out what the unmet need is. Hunger, soiled diaper, pain, crankiness. We try to identify, sometimes just by the sound of the cry, what that need is so that we can then meet that need. So what this does is help us get to the bottom of the need, the unmet need of the child, using our verbal skills. Because once they're here in this green brain, then we can start reasoning with them. We can start talking to them using language. Your face is going like this. You seem upset. You wanted to stay at the playground longer. That's disappointing, and that's hard, but it's time to go. You're not dismissing what they're feeling. You're showing empathy, and you're telling them, yeah, it stinks to have to leave this fun thing to go do something less fun. And that is life. That's not the opportunity. That's not when you want to say, well, life isn't fair. That's not the best place. That was my mom's standard line, was life isn't fair. This is getting them out of their upset state into their emotional brain so they can figure out how they're feeling. And then you're acknowledging their feelings. We don't want to ever dismiss kiddos' upset or conflict. One of the slides earlier I showed you was about behaviors and how our perspective changes as kids get older. When they're teeny, teeny, tiny, and they cry, we try to figure out what the need is and meet it. When they get older, we expect them to either tell us what it is, take care of it, but ultimately our goal is to stop the behavior, not to meet the need. And that isn't always as successful as figuring out what the need was, acknowledging how they're feeling, and then coaching them with other skills. Okay? So what we want to do is practice all of the steps. So the first step is the star breathing, that co-regulating, making that eye contact. I think I heard you guys mentioning earlier yawning. That's exactly what it is. When I've taught breathing or belly breathing, I can see everybody doing it at the same time I am. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So we're going to practice star breathing. Stop, take a deep breath and relax, or smile, take a breath and relax. Sometimes it's smiling. Do that one more time. That was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. Do you want to come up here and do that for everybody? Okay, maybe later. That was absolutely perfect. So we're going to practice our star breath. Then we're going to practice the describing again. We're going to practice adding a name to the emotion, you seem. And the final step is acknowledging possibly what the unmet need was. Okay? When you practice this, sometimes it helps with a little story. So it may be that when I say, you seem disappointed, and you correct me and say, I'm not disappointed, I'm mad that we have to leave the store right now. Oh, you were hoping we could stay at the store later than we did. So sometimes that blue brain will tell you what your next step is. So I'm going to set the timer at this because if this is more steps. We have 5 minutes to practice this. So let's get going. We'll start that. And I'll leave this slide up so you can reference it.
All right, we're going to come back together. What our satellite sites don't know is we are getting like a master class from Endeavor Elementary today. Just listening to their conversations has been awesome and amazing for us. So I want to say thank you again for helping us facilitate this. As we move on to kind of our sum up and our summary for this evening, one of the things that I take and I hold is we can't help our children if we don't first help ourselves. This whole model is about making sure that we're putting the seatbelt, the oxygen mask on ourselves first and getting ourselves into that green state. Because if we're in blue or red, it's going to be really, really hard to help our kids regulate themselves. So again, I'm going to send it to Miss Erdman, and she's going to kind of give a recap for this evening, and then I'll be up to one last time.
Okay, so I've shared with you just a couple of stories of how I damaged my child by not practicing any of these things. Which, I mean, she's doing okay, so I'm gonna say that. And nobody is perfect in any of these steps. We have all been studying this consistently for a few years now, practicing it every day, and we still do not do it perfectly. My niece and nephew, so my daughter's 22, and I don't try this stuff on her very often, but it does work even on 22-year-olds. My niece and nephew are 3 and 6. And my nephew, a couple years ago, we were up in North Georgia camping, or not camping, cabin with air conditioning and a hot tub. So no, it was not camping. I digress. Sorry. In my brain, I was way cooler than I actually was. We were staying in a cabin. And it was a big family, and my husband fries a turkey every year for Thanksgiving. And the kids were out and about. And I'm like, stay away from the hot boiling oil. And I did all the rules. Don't go here. Don't go past this. If you see the smoke, stay over there. Did all the things for the little ones, and their parents did the same thing. And my nephew, bless his heart, is like looking at something really cool, and he's walking beeline for this vat of boiling hot oil. And his name is James. So I'm like, James. So I start screaming his name louder and louder and louder. Now this is while I'm doing all of this fun stuff. I wasn't going to say, you weren't paying attention and you were walking into a boiling thing of oil. That in those situations, you have to react because you have to save your child or that child from harm's way. You have to go into survival state. So that's just one example. And so I jump up, I snatched him, he startled, but immediately I was able to go, ooh, that was scary. I was worried you were going to walk into the turkey fryer thingy. I know there's a name for it. I said, okay. I'm like, ooh, I'm breathing heavy because I ran over here. Breathe with me. So although I reacted and I sent us both here, I was able to get us back up there pretty quick. And that's when I said, I know there's a lot of really cool stuff to look at. You were distracted and you almost ran into this thing, and that's why I had to yell at you. Here's what we can do instead. But he was in his green brain and I was in my green brain. If I was still in my red brain, I would have been, screaming and yelling at him. Okay? So that's just another example of we're not always going to live in our green brain. I would love to say that we're there all the time. We're not. We vacation there. I have a timeshare there too. I'm trying to split my time evenly between my blue brain and my green brain. Okay? So if you want to take a picture of the next slide, this is what we did tonight. We did what's called the DNA process. Describe, name, acknowledge. The D's down in the red part. Your body's going like this, your face is going like this. Take a breath with me. You're bringing them up out of the lower centers of the brain into the higher centers of the brain. You seem, fill in the blank. You wanted, you were hoping, fill in the blank. So this is the process from the lower centers of the brain to the higher centers of the brain, and that's where the teaching can happen, is once you're up there. So that is the skill that we learned tonight, the DNA process. Okay? So in closing, I'm going to go back to that word co-regulate, because if we are tired, if we are in pain, if we are exhausted, if we are upset, if we are in anything other than our green brain, we're not the best at lending our skills to other people or lending our skills to children, lending our skills to our friends and colleagues. So if we are fully charged and fully rested, We can run all kinds of apps on a full battery, but if we are drained, we can do those things, but not at the pace and the consistency that we need to in order to raise our kiddos to be resilient and to achieve goals and to be the absolute best person that they want to be. So when we are in our green brains and our kiddos are in our green brains, all that stuff can happen. And so I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Moore.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Sincerely, thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. I watched you participate the whole night, so I wanted to just say a personal thank you to you because you're pretty cool, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you to everybody who participated at our satellite site. We are going to be doing some more parent academies. We've learned some important lessons tonight. We hope our satellite sites had some good feed from us and the transitions went well, but we'll certainly be working with them to make sure that that improves. And I can't say much about what our upcoming sessions are going to be, but they'll probably involve student services, so you might see me again. Any final words from Endeavor and Elementary? Anything you guys would like to share for the good of the group? Any questions from our parents tonight or our little ones? About the parent sessions? Well, right now it's going out through Facebook, but one of our reflections is going to be to go back and say, what are 10 other ways that we can get this information out to our families? So it's on Facebook, but we're gonna come up with some additional ways to make sure you get that information. So the question was, because I know that with a mic it's hard, is, hey, how do you find out about these parent academies? We're going to be doing some brainstorming and some reflection and make sure we come up with some other ways to make sure that information gets out. So again, for anybody who's listening, this whole presentation was recorded. Accept our mistakes because Mr. Brune's going to edit those out, and then it's going to be posted on YouTube for you guys to share out with whoever might want or need this information. Where's the YouTube channel, Mr. Brune? Perfect. All right. Thank you, guys. Good night.